At ease. It's your boy Soul Immortal. Man, I'm just sitting here enjoying life, only a couple of 100 feet from the Mexico border, enjoying the sunrise over the famous X in Juarez, Mexico. And I'm just going through a few comments on some older videos. And I came across these questions from Miss Love. And one of her questions was on the video that I made, The Irony of Marriage. And it says this: only a foolish woman doesn't want a nice man. Don't you think marriage is better for families? And on another video, Money and What I Wish I Knew at 20, she asked this question. She says, how would you advise sharing finances in a relationship? So I'm going to combine those, man, and then I'm going to break it down into three separate questions, because that's really how I interpret it, right? So the first question which she asked, only a foolish woman doesn't want a nice man. So I'm going to assume that Mrs. Love, because she doesn't have a picture, I'm going to assume that either she's right around the age of 50 or above. She may even be around 55 for her to even make a statement like that. And the reason I say that is because, see, even though we know that, the wall has always existed, even though we know that hypergamy, has always existed, there's a cutoff, man, where things changed. Because you see, and a lot of you younger guys, you guys in your 20s, you might not be able to remember a time like this. But there was a point in time where you really didn't hear of people getting divorced. There were a lot, it was common for people to be married. And it sounds like this woman is from this era for her to even make a statement like that. But to answer her question, I would have to say, Miss Love, I definitely agree. It does take a foolish woman to not want, you say a nice man, but I'll say a good man. But this is the truth of the matter, right? If you look at a lot of my older videos and you see these men, making these what seems to be harsh comments against women. If you look at other MGTOW channels and guys are going in on women saying, don't talk to women, don't do this. Y'all call these men monsters, but in reality, the women of this generation created these monsters. Because you see, all these men that you see comment on, that you say are making these harsh comments and all that stuff now, these were the same men for the last 20 years that were buying the flowers, that were taking the women out on dates, that were opening the car doors. These were the gentlemen that women had available. But for some reason, these women didn't want this type of man. Now that man has evolved into going his own way and doing other things, now the women look around like what's going on? Or the women of the older generation are saying, it takes a foolish woman not to want a nice man. But that's what happened. You know what I'm saying? See, what happens, Miss Love, and I don't want to go through the full spiel because all these men that are watching, or the far majority, know about the wall. But to answer your question, what really happens is between the ages of 20 and 30, these women, they just didn't want these men. Men were pursuing. See, this is the thing. Men, we've been groomed since day one. Either through television, through our parents, and through any other streams of taking in information. We've been groomed to be, presented to women with a bow on us. We've been groomed to spoil women and buy them homes and treat them like women of this generation had it made. Society had pretty much created robots for women, and it still wasn't enough. But what happened when these good men, when these well-groomed men were pursuing these women didn't want these men. They wanted the men that were no good. So what you have is when women hit 30, 32, 33, 35, when they hit this, they wake up and they realize, oh dang, I realize now that the Joe Blows I've been messing with are no good. And that's why we have a society of women that have, multiple baby daddies, multiple divorces, multiple, all this other stuff. And now they're sitting there looking at men like, there are no good men. It's like, no, the good men still exist. They've gone MGTOW. They've went different direction. You know what I'm saying? But that's what that is. And even with one of these women who chose to go down the wrong path and run through God the guy, during her 20s, even when a good guy does decide to look past that and still get with her, even when that happens, she still can't get it. Because you'll get these ran through women getting with a good guy that has things going for himself, and they still want to cheat. They still don't want to get their mind right. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. It takes a foolish woman to not want a good man. You're dead on point. So your second question was, do I think marriage is good for families? And I can give you my opinion on that. But first I have to cover the whole, marriage thing. I don't know if you've seen enough of my videos, but me personally, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, good or bad. Me personally, I don't agree with marriage. Matter of fact, I always talk about, if you've seen some videos, I talk about putting women that, women are either in the 95% or the 5%, the good women and the women that just really aren't worth spending time with. And in my opinion, if I was a man dating and I begin to get serious with a woman and she start mentioning marriage as far as, hey, like, let's go down to the courthouse, let's make it official, instantly, I would take her out of the 5% and put her in 95%. And this is why. There's not a person, at least in the United States, that is not fully aware that once two people get married, that the legal system has taken a man's balls and literally put them in a woman's purse. Everybody knows that, men and women both. They know that marriage is unfair. They know that it's a risk to any man. We know this. So for any woman to have this information and still want you to go down that road, in my personal opinion, it says a lot about her. It tells me everything I need to know about her. Now, having said that, I have some friends that are married, happily married to good women. Since I started Patreon, man, I've been on the phone with a lot of men, email a lot of guys that are in relationships, that are engaged, that are already married. And a lot of them are happily married. They'll write me and tell me about their 1% woman and give me the rundown of how she's been like this for so many years. And I'm like, dude, you got you a good one. Like, don't let her go. So I'm not anti-marriage. Matter of fact, if one of these guys invites me to their wedding, shoot, I'll be the first one there, man. I'll be throwing the rice and confetti. I'm just saying, as far as me personally, I don't agree with marriage. Now, in my opinion, if a man wants to be involved with a woman, because as I've stated before, I would much rather, in my mind, if a man is going to be involved with women, period, I think he needs one woman as opposed to pump and dump. And in my next video, I'll fully explain why. There's a certain reason why. But in my mind, if a guy wants to go down the road of being with a woman, then he should get one woman. If they wanna have a family and be one and do all this stuff, then they should do that. Even if they want to go get the rings and the ceremonies and the jumping of the brooms and the honeymoons and all that stuff, if a man wants to do that with one woman, I think he should do that. But for no reason, there's absolutely no reason on this planet that a man should sign a certificate of marriage in the United States. And again, any woman that suggests that a man do it, in my opinion, she's automatically a 95%er. The young lady that I talked about on the Virtuous Woman video, her and I have several conversations about MGTOW. and we can go back and forth all day. You know, I can talk about, you know, how all women go through a whole stage. You know, we can go back and forth about that. I can talk about the 5% and the 95%, and we can go back and forth about that. But when we talk about issues like marriage, she always says, like, marriage is outdated, and she'll say, like why would anybody even go that route nowadays? And that makes sense. It really doesn't make sense to go to the courthouse and get certified or get whatever they call to get married. I mean, if you want to be with somebody, be with them. If you want to procreate. If you want to build homes, if you want to buy land, if you want to build a future, then do that. But for a person to want to, you know, get married, or for a person demand that you marry them, you just got to question the motive on that, man. Anyway, enough about that. To answer the question, do I think marriage or do I think commitment is better for families? No brainer. Yes. Is it good that if two people want to have a child and raise a child, is it good for this child to see two people in one household and that whole nine? Of course. Of course. But when you think about it, when you think about today, right? When you think about society, that's just not the case. Again, like I've always mentioned, in my neighborhood, man, it was about 10 or 12 of us, man. In my whole neighborhood, it was a group of us, about 10 or 12 guys, right? And each household had the biological mother and the biological father. Out of this whole neighborhood, all of my friends. I remember when my first friend, when one of my friends' parents got divorced, it was like the whole world just shook. I mean, we were just like what is this? Like, what's going on? But if you look at now, it's the opposite. If you have a neighborhood of kids, the odds are that the majority of those kids are going to be living with one step parent or a single household. So to answer your question, yes, I do think it's better for families and that whole thing you said. But more importantly, nowadays, I think it's better for a household to have to show stuff like trust and respect and the ability to adapt, because now the majority of households are mixed families. So I think there's a lot that goes into what makes families better nowadays. Now, question 3 says, how would I advise sharing finances in a relationship? Well, I'm gonna say this. First off, if you're a man and you don't have your money right, there's absolutely no reason you should be going looking for a relationship or entertaining women at all. If your money is not right, that needs to be 100% of your focus. You don't even need to engage in women, even if it's committing to one woman, even if it's pump and dump. You don't have time for none of that. Having said that, if you're a woman and your mind isn't right, in other words, if you aren't ready to submit to a man, you shouldn't be looking for a relationship. You know, if you're still in the streets and you wilding out and you're doing all this clubbing or whatever, you shouldn't be looking for a man. Now, got that out the way. Second thing I want to say is this. If you're to a point where you're close enough to a woman where y'all are sharing finances, the first thing you need to do is make sure that y'all are vibrating on the same level financially. Meaning, if you're someone who's tight with money and you don't like spending money except on certain things, you need to make sure that the woman you get with is vibrating on that same level. The last thing you need to do is be trying to get your money right and get with the woman that has to have the Gucci, Louis, Prada. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. So before you do anything financially with a woman, you need to make sure that y'all are vibrating the same level. Now, as far as how I think it should go, in my opinion, I'm very specific when it comes down to finances. But I think if two people are in a household together, Miss Love, that I think there should be one account. There should be one account that goes toward the establishment, you know, everyday living, paying bills. And I think that each person should have their own account. Now, whatever they decide to put in this account to make it work, that's going to be on them. Whether, you know, what percentage is going to do whatever, that's completely on them. But I do think that the amount that goes in to take care of the bills should exceed whatever the bills cost. Because like I said in the video talking about the finances, you want that account to be building. Even though it's paying bills, you still want that account to be building. And in my opinion, why I think the man and the woman should both have their own account is for this. You know, I talk to a lot of married guys, man, a lot of married men, a lot of men that are in, you know, committed relationships. And man, it burns me. It burns me on the inside when I talk to a guy about, hey man, you know, buying this or going to this place, and they say, oh man, my wife would kill me, man. Wifey won't let me, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, wifey won't let you, you can't buy. I'm like, what? That's not living. At least for me, it's not living. And the same token, I heard a lot of men talking about, oh, well, a woman is always asking for me for money, blah, 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 and she wants me to get her this. I don't like that either. But this is my personal opinion. As a man, I'm going to have my money tight. My stuff is going to be growing in the right direction. But as a man, if I'm going to have a woman in my life, and this is why a woman needs to be submissive. A woman needs to be open to what this man is teaching her. I'm going to be teaching this woman how to make her money grow as well. You know, if a woman is with me, she's not going to have to worry about, you know, am I going to be able to get this? Am I going to be able to do what I want? Do I have to ask my man for money? Because her money is going to be growing the same way. Because as a man, I'm going to show her how to do that. So I need us both to have our own accounts. You know, we have an account in the middle, stuff is getting paid for, and that account is growing. And then we have our own lives. You know, we have our own accounts that are growing. That's just how I see it, you know. Now, I know a lot of people, even when I was young, you know, when I got married and I was, 21 or however old I was, you know, when you have two people coming in and you're pretty much kids, you know, you don't have anything, you don't have any 401ks, you don't have any investments, you don't have you don't have anything. And you're coming in, I think it's common, or at least I did. When I came in, it was one. We had one account, it was this, everything went out, you know, it was one account. And I think that's common when people are in their younger 20s and they get married. But when you're talking about two adults coming together to get married, it's different because, you know, they have two different things going on, you know. So that's my opinion on that. But yeah, I hope I answered your question, Miss Love. Hey, before I go, man, I have to give a special shout out to my partners in South Carolina. Last week, I spent a week out in Charleston, South Carolina. Man, these guys, you know, they showed us, they showed me where, you know, the elite stay, man. I got to see, you know, Fort Sumter, where the first shots were fired during the Civil War. Charleston has some of the greatest restaurants, man, and if you love being on the water, man, it's just a great place to be. And I promised those guys I would give them a shout out. So again, man, thanks you guys for last week for having a good time. So it's your boy Soul Immortal. Let's take a look at what you've been missing on Patreon. Now, one thing about your beliefs, to really talk about, to really understand your beliefs and see where you're at, is to observe your behaviors. And that was my belief. See, on one hand, I was saying, you know what, this is what I want. I want this kind of life. I want this kind of home. But my behaviors were telling me what my real beliefs were. Now the worst thing that you can do for your faith and your beliefs is try to reason. And when I say try to reason, what I mean is try to figure out on how it's going to happen, or try to justify how this thing can take place.